Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello there, welcome along to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington and I'm joined by Mark Langdon and Ian Wilkerson, two Tottenham fans, to preview Liverpool versus Tottenham in the big game of the season. We've also got from Paddy Power a Man United fan. So Liverpool fans, I'm not quite sure how much confidence there'll be in your boys.
There's enough for them in the media anyway.
Oh yes, that is true. We're redressing the balance. But before we get on to what is sure to be a mouth-watering game, and also have a look ahead to next week's UEFA Nations League semi-finals, let's look at, first of all, we'll start with last night's Europa League final. Chelsea 4, Arsenal 1. It felt like the Umbro Cup or something like that. I've got to say, I didn't have high hopes for it, but I thought that first half, I sat through that and I thought, this is dreadful. This is not what a European final should feel like. You couldn't see the crowd. There was no atmosphere. It had the worst camera angle since White Hart Lane closed. It was just, I hated it. Like, second half got quite interesting, but even then, when the goals were going in, it was like a pre-season friendly. It just didn't feel anything like it. It's going to be so much better on Saturday. But forensically looking at the football, Mark, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously didn't see 4-1 coming at half time. Looked like an absolute 50-50 game at half time, and you probably would have been back in penalties or at least extra time. Once Chelsea stepped it up, they clearly targeted the right side of Arsenal's defence. Maitland-Niles, isn't. I suppose he could be a wing back, but he's better going forward than he is defensively. And the front three, and I mean, Ozil's picked up quite rightly some of the stick, but I mean, Aubameyang and Lacazette are the two best players, the key players. Didn't do anything. I mean, Lacazette maybe could have had a penalty. I'm not sure that it was, but it was a really poor second half performance from Arsenal, given how much that game meant to them. Because you've seen in the papers all week about the budget if they got in Champions League compared to if they didn't, and now they're not in it. Very difficult to see how they can sort of be top four next season, or confident of top four next season.
It got very open, didn't it, in the second half, and they did have chances, Arsenal, but they just
Willock looked quite smart when he came on, didn't he?
More than Ozil.
Yeah, I mean, but it's got to be a big disappointment for Arsenal, the way that they performed, and Chelsea did the job. They scored a really good goal. They were really lifted by that Giroud goal, weren't they? I mean, the first goal was obviously important in any football match, but it was of such quality. It really gave them a lift, and then they struck so early afterwards, and it was all over at 3-0, wasn't it?
You touched on my favourite moment, Mark, the possible penalty in the first half. And they went to Peter Walton, as they always do, but they went too early for him. He hadn't seen a replay, so he was sort of going, and he's waiting for the replay to come.
So he had to genuinely make a refereeing decision.
Exactly. Yes.
I heard a story about that Peter Walton, how he, when he popped up during the Tottenham celebrations, someone was telling me that the guy who's in control of the controls at BT for that night was a massive Spurs fan, and he just went bonkers, and he was flicking.
It looked like it.
He was flicking switches everywhere. So like there was a shot of Kane, then there was
a shot of Harry Kane who looked like he was trying to evacuate.
Yeah, it was. It was.
A cat might have walked across the.
No, I'm told it was just. I'm told it was a Spurs fan that just went absolutely bonkers.
But that's so.
It is. It is. I can't even be. I can't say it's 100% true, but the person who told me seemed to know for sure, and that's what it looked like, didn't it? Yeah.
Well, it did. It did. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ludicrous. Wilco, anything from not so much last night, but maybe the last part of the season for Chelsea and Arsenal? Do you think they'll go in opposite directions next season, or do you think Chelsea's issues with transfers and having to replace Hazard? We saw it with Hazard last night. How hard is going to be,
isn't it? He made that plain that he's going. I mean, now the two issues that Chelsea are going to have to address is the loss of their best player and what's happening with the managerial situation. I think it's a bit harsh. I'm just imagining what the reaction would be if Frank Lampard had got Chelsea to third in the league and won the UEFA Cup and sorry, getting a bit retro there, UEFA Cup, and getting to the League Cup final, I think everybody would be saying, oh, he's brilliant. He'd be getting the freedom of Kensington and Chelsea, wouldn't he?
Roman is still sacking.
Yeah, but I think if they keep Sarri, I think they could move into the right direction, a bit of decent investment. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult to replace a player of Hazard's quality, but they play well as a team. They're knitted well together. I think they'll definitely be in the top 4 next year.
Well, let's get a show of betting from Jason on the 2019-2020 Premier League.
Yeah, you're looking for the winner market?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So winner market, obviously, Man City we favourites there at the moment at 8-13. Liverpool we have at 13-5. Tottenham 14-1. Chelsea 20-1. Man United short at 20-1. Arsenal then we have at 30-1. Then your bigger prices: Wolves 150-1. Newcastle obviously being cut in this week to 200-1, and Everton 150-1.
And have you got top 4?
Yeah, top 4 we'll open it up here.
Good man.
So top 4, obviously, City, I think they're 1-50. We've Liverpool then about 1-12. Then you're looking at Tottenham 1-2. We've Chelsea then next favourites at 4-5. We've Man United 11-10. You've Arsenal then best price at 13-10. Then you're looking at 16s for Leicester, 17s for Wolves, and 20s for Everton.
Is that you taking the optimism tablets, Jason, with Man United's price there?
Yeah, well, you just have to factor in as well. You know you're going to lay them, and transfer news over the summer, things could change quite quickly for them. But personally, as a United fan, you'd just be happy to see some kind of a style of play or some kind of just long-term plan. Like Liverpool, last day of the season, Steven Gerrard's last game 4 years ago, they got bet 6-1 by Stoke. Ryan Shawcross was saying in the dressing room like they were laughing at half-time, 6-0 up. But look what Liverpool, where they've gotten to in 4 years since, second Champions League final in 2 years. So things can turn around for United quite quickly, but you'd just like to see just a plan next season, just some kind of structure to the team, and obviously a few signings over the summer would help. There's talk about De Ligt. He's 11-4 to go to United now, but the gas thing is there's people saying on Twitter if De Ligt actually wants to come to United, then I wouldn't sign him, because obviously his decision making is awful. So look, United they need to do a big overhaul of the squad. But
he seems to be going for younger players, doesn't he? James at Swansea, Longstaff at Newcastle. He's been linked with a few youths, hasn't he, Jason?
Yeah, but I think that's more to do with limitations, as in no Champions League football, a manager who's unproven. If you're a top player, you're not necessarily going to go to United unless it's money that's driving you. And De Ligt's agent is Mino Raiola, so maybe he might have a word in his ear. But I think United have to look at those kind of players just because of what's available in the market and who you're competing against. City and Liverpool will look to improve. I know Chelsea have the ban, but across Europe, the big players will, like Real Madrid, are obviously going to be looking this summer with Hazard. Dybala, is a big player that United could possibly go for, but not exactly what they need. He's maybe a younger Juan Mata. He hasn't got pace that United would need going forward. Harry Maguire, again, you're talking maybe 70 million. Good aerial threat, good at set pieces, might shore up the defence, might be the kind of signing you'd be happy to get. But like
70 for Harry Maguire, Jesus wept.
Yeah, United will have to pay a premium on anything to go for as well. And Leicester also looking to build as well with Brendan Rodgers. And I think actually, Arsenal, Emery's had a season to sort out his defence there, which he hasn't really done. Chelsea with the transfer ban, Hazard obviously going, Sarri possibly to Juve. It was 1-10 yesterday, out to 2-5 now after last night's result. So I don't think Chelsea are going to be any better next year, and it's hard to know with United. So I'd say have a look at Leicester, maybe they're top 4, like say 16s, or I think there's maybe 10s on them for top 6. Could be worth a bet.
Yeah, I like Leicester if they get Tielemans, but that's a bit of an if now. Mark, have you had have any of those prices that Jason read out there tickled your fancy?
I think I would be looking at somebody like Leicester, or you have to, if Everton can maybe improve. I thought they showed signs towards the end of the season of getting their act together as well. Wolves have got this Europa League that starts in July. Otherwise, I would say them, but I think that that's a big handicap. So if you go far in the Europa League, you end up, it's another almost a season. So I think that there's a vulnerability there outside of the top 2. Mentioned Chelsea's potential transfer ban. Arsenal needs so much surgery, and it's going to. I think they're probably still another couple of years away from even being where Emery wants them.
They take a backward step when Ramsey walks out the door.
Well, yeah, Ramsey goes. You still, there's an unbalancing issue there with their 2 best players up front. And if you play them too, then the rest of the team's got to be really good defensively, and they haven't got very many defenders. Tottenham, Pochettino's making noises about walking away. I mean, I'm
That's
presuming.
just positioning. I don't believe that.
I mean, you
He's
never
gonna
know.
have a season there, isn't he, at the new gaff?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I presume so, but I don't think I would ever take it for granted that he is. And that, at some stage they need to invest. I think that they were quite lucky to finish in the top 4 by the end. So that there are places available there. I don't think that there's this, even whatever the point system said, I don't think there's a massive gap between a Leicester and Arsenal or Tottenham, So there could be room for somebody to gate crash that top 4, yeah.
And Wilco at the very top, I must admit, I'm slightly surprised at the difference in prices between City and Liverpool. I thought they'd be a bit closer.
Yes,
That's a polite way of saying, well, I don't.
No, well, it wasn't. I mean, I think City proved that they are the best team this year, and there will be scope for investment. But what I like about Liverpool is that they're cohesive and they've got their way of playing and they've got the system, and that's the difference between the top teams and people like Arsenal and United. Is that, they don't know where they're going. There's no sort of philosophy and thing. You know how a Guardiola team's going to play. You know how a Klopp's team's going to play. You know how a Pochettino.
It's not a big 6 anymore, is it? It's all shaken
It's a
up.
big 4 and the rest. Yeah.
Well, it's big 2 and then a load of others. Jason, let's look at the other end of the table because Villa joined the elite. Welcome back to that fine Birmingham club. They scraped over the line. Well, not scraped over the line against Derby. They got the job done. What price of Villa to either stay up or come back down next year?
Yeah, so we have them at 6-4. There is as big as 9-4 out there. The difference we have would probably be.
Is that to stay up or come down?
Relegation. We'd have them 6-4. Whereas we'd have Brighton then out that kind of bracket you're looking at. We'd be 9-4 Brighton, which would be nearly best price. We think Brighton with Potter coming in is a very shrewd managerial change for them. Whereas Aston Villa, there is a gap coming up, and Dean Smith has done fantastic since he came in, and it was an unbelievable run to get them there in the end. But again, the likes of Tammy Abraham will get him back on loan next season. For argument's sake, if Christian Eriksen was to leave Spurs, then Spurs would surely come back having a look at Jack Grealish. Now, with them back in the Premier League, there's no pressure on him to leave. He could easily stay there and develop for another season. But we just think it is still a jump to come back up to the Premier League. There's a lot of strong teams ahead of them. So Aston Villa staying up next season will be a massive success, but we'd have them 6-4 there at the moment.
Have you got a few other relegation prices for us?
Yeah, we'll run them out there. So we've Sheffield United 8-11, we've Norwich 10-11, then we'd be next on Villa at 6-4, we'd have Burnley at 15-8, we'd be Brighton then 9-4, and then there's a bit of a gap then. We're out to 9-2 Southampton, 6-1 Palace, 13-2 Watford, 6-1 Bournemouth, and then whatever then the rest really.
Okay. Mark, Jason's view there is, or the Paddy Power view and Jason's view is that Brighton are going to be safe with Potter and Villa are going to be vulnerable. What do you think of those early prices on relegation?
Yeah, I think Villa will be okay. I don't see Grealish going. I mean, presuming he's finished drinking by then, I think he's been on the lash ever since Monday. I just think he's a great player, could play top. He could just easily play top 6, but I think his connection to the club will mean he'll give them at least 1 year in the Premier League. They do need to invest, and there's been a suggestion that there's some financial fair play issues that handicap Wolves a little bit, but I think you can do some shrewd loans like what Wolves did with Jimenez, where you loan him and then you get a deal in place to sign him. I think they'll be fine. Of the 3 that came up, I would have gravest concerns, I think, about Norwich. I know they won the championship, but I wasn't that sold on them in a lot of their games, and I feel like they've got a lot of players that are championship level, and then maybe they will step up. The fullbacks probably can, but I'm just not sure about somebody like Pukki, for instance. And we've
seen with them in the past, they know, they're a bit like West Brom. They know they're going to come up, they know they're going to go down, and they know the key is not to go absolutely ballistic and do what Fulham did, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sheffield United have got a more unique way of playing that may just catch Premier League teams out early on.
Okay, so if you wanted to have a bet now on relegation, who would you back?
Norwich, they would be the ones for sure.
What price are you Bournemouth, Jason?
We're 6-1 on Bournemouth there at the moment.
Yeah, someone else was 7, so I've had a bit of that.
Yeah, I like Bournemouth.
I don't know. I mean, I'd be interested in, I think, Newcastle if the takeover doesn't happen. I mean, Benitez hasn't signed a new contract. I mean, and he's the only reason really why I think that they're in where they are. So that would be 2, and probably Sheffield United, although I wouldn't back them at the price.
So you're against the Cherries as well, are you, Will?
Yeah, they can't defend.
And Wilson going, isn't there?
Yeah, and they can't defend for toffee, can they? They concede so many goals. They conceded more than 60, 70 goals a season since they've came up every year. And I think I've backed them every August as well, because I think it just can't carry on. And they've got so many, like Steve Cook, who was like the mainstay of their defence. I mean, it's got to be the worst Premier League player in the country. They just look terrible defending, and they just managed to scrape over the line by getting 8 wins in their first 15 matches, and then after Christmas they dropped like a stone. I just don't think it can carry on. So I'll take a bet at 6-1 about them.
You've been against Bournemouth all season, Mark. All of a sudden you're standing up for
Well, I mean, you could argue it doesn't matter when you get your points, and they got enough of them pretty comfortably. I mean, it depends. If Brooks, Fraser, and Wilson go, then you're talking differently. But those front players have been good enough to keep them in the league before, so I don't see a reason why it won't again. That would be my sort of argument there. Brighton could be interesting to go down. I mean, they only just stayed up. I mean, Potter would look very good at Swansea, but I mean, you can never. Any managerial appointment has a risk to it.
Sure. Champions League next.
Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, BeGambleAware.org.
OK, at 8 p.m. on Saturday night, it's Tottenham versus Liverpool in Madrid for the Champions League final. One of the most eagerly awaited football matches I can ever remember. Mark's about to head off to Madrid. Wilco, I think, is watching at home, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so.
Jason might not even be watching because he's a Man United fan and can't bear it. But everyone else will be avidly tuned in, and they want to know where to put their hard-earned cash to augment their viewing pleasure with a wager. So, Jason, take us through the match odds and also to lift the trophy.
Yeah, so Liverpool favourites at 10-11 in the 90-minute market. We've the draw at 12-5 and Tottenham 16-5 to win in 90 minutes. To lift the cup then, we've Liverpool best price 8-15 and we've Spurs 6-4.
OK. By the way, this is the greatest they played for both clubs fixture of all time. We've got an actual team and subs in the right position. So if you want to have a little think about that while the lads are giving you the best bets, and then we will culminate our Champions League preview with the revelation of the they played for both clubs 11. But first of all, Mark, without further ado, how optimistic are you?
The fan in me is more optimistic than sort of the punter. I think if you look at the numbers, Liverpool have got quite a strong sort of hold over Tottenham. I mean, you spoke earlier on about there being a big two and then the rest. I mean, Spurs have lost 19 matches in all competitions this season, which is absolutely bonkers to think that they're in a Champions League final. The fan in me thinks, well, this is the first time all year they've had everybody available, and in a one-off game, I think that they are, as they showed in the second half against Liverpool at Anfield, they are capable of really pushing anybody.
They lost both league games 2-1.
They lost, yeah. I mean,
not much in it, was there?
Well, the first game at Wembley, Liverpool were. I mean, the expected goals was crazy in Liverpool's.
Spurs put in, and certainly before Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool destroyed them. At Anfield, it was a lot closer. But then you have a look at like the goal difference, for instance, over Liverpool's games this season. They're about plus 1.4 over their opponents. Tottenham are about plus 0.7. So there's a 0.7 sort of supremacy difference there. So, I mean, Liverpool deserve to be the price that they are, I think. And I also think for their season, they deserve, and it doesn't work like that, I know, but they deserve a trophy.
Yeah, no, they've been magnificent, haven't they? What will happen though, Mark?
I'm going to go for, in the double result market, Liverpool half-time, Liverpool full-time. The basis being that Tottenham have started so many big matches slowly. They were behind at half-time in both the games against Liverpool. In 3 of the 4 games they played against Man City, they conceded inside the first 6 minutes. They were behind early in both games against Barcelona. They were behind early in both games against Ajax and showed, recovery at the end. But there's just this sort of nagging doubt about them attitude-wise in terms of big matches. That they seem to start sloppily, and then once the game's lost, they then wake up, and it's easier to play without that pressure. And Liverpool, we know, absolutely go for the jugular at all times. And I don't think that. I think it'll be a good game, but I don't think that Tottenham's defensively in the fullback areas can deal with Mane and Salah, and plus the fullbacks coming forward with Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. And if you fancy Liverpool, I think it's a bet where you know, if they're not ahead at half time, you start to get really nervous. So I'd rather back them around about sort of in excess of 2-1 to do that than sort of odds on to win in 90 minutes.
Wilco, it's going to be absolutely boiling hot. Apparently, the weather forecast is like 35 degrees even by kickoff.
Mate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, could that affect things in terms of pressing styles, etc., etc.?
Well, I mean, when we talk about that, obviously you're talking about two of the fittest teams in Europe, and you're talking about they're going to. They've had 3 weeks off, so they should be geared for that sort of thing. But I do believe, the weather could play a bit of a part, like the temperature. I think it's going to be quite a tight game. I think the draw's a big runner. I think it could be the game. We talked about the game at Wembley where, Spurs were outplayed. Liverpool were by far the 2-1 flat at Tottenham. They scored right at the end. It could have easily been 3 or 4-0. But the game at Anfield was really tight. Sissoko had that great chance that he missed, and then Spurs contributed to their own downfall with a own goal right at the end. So I think we could be in for another tight game. 12-5 the draw is a big runner for me. I also like 5-1 either team to win on penalties. We've had 13 Champions League finals have gone to extra time since Liverpool beat Roma in '84, and 11 of them have gone to penalties. So only 2 of them have been settled in the extra 30 minutes. So I would suggest that could be the way to go forward, and then you could sort of like Dutch it by backing each team to win on penalties. Okay, Jason, have you got a strong view on the game?
I think the match prices and to lift the trophy, I think the gap in the prices won't necessarily be reflective of how competitive the game will be on Saturday night. I think Spurs are a little bit of value to lift the trophy there if you wanted to have a bet on them. But for me, I'm in work, I'll be watching it unfortunately, but I'm just hoping for a great game. Both teams to score has clicked in 7 of the last 8 meetings between these two sides, so they do give us goals. That's about 8 to 11. And both teams to score has clicked in the last 8 Champions League finals, and we've had some great finals recently with some great goals. We've seen Bale's bicycle kick last year, Mandzukic the year before. I know Juventus lost the game, but just hoping to see something that'll stick in the highlight reel for years to come, whether it's a Spurs or a Liverpool player that does it. You do need a bit of luck to win the Champions League as well, otherwise Man City will be winning it, but that's why we love football. If the best team won all the time, then there'd be no point in watching. I think Spurs have been lucky to get to the final, although you do make your own luck too at the same time. But even going back to the group stages, we're lucky, Barcelona rested Messi in the last group game when Spurs needed a win, and they got the late goal to get through. And again, they kept going against Ajax and got the late goal to get through there as well. And Liverpool have had a bit of luck as well also. Again, had their own luck against Barcelona in that comeback. But even Napoli, it wasn't Mertens. Who was the Napoli striker?
Oh, it was Milik, wasn't it?
Milik.
Alisson.
Alisson, last game, 89th minute in the group stage. You can say the keeper's closed them down, but I think he's hit straight at him. If that goes in, then Liverpool go out at the group stage. So you do need a bit of luck to win this Champions League, and that's why Man City haven't won it. All I will say is I hope it's not something that's unlucky that leads to like Karius last season. I thought that was a shame what happened with him. Lloris, we know, has a mistake in him. He had a mistake in the World Cup final, but got away with it there. And even seen with Charlton and Sunderland last week, I felt awful when Sunderland went 1-0 up. That would have been a terrible way for a game like that to be decided. So I just hope it's a bit of magic that does it on the night. Who will give us the magic? For me, in the goal score markets, I'm tipping up Firmino for Liverpool if you want to back him. 6-1, 13-2 first goal score. Klopp said he's fine to play. If you look at his Premier League record this season, his XG per 90 minutes is 0.47 of a goal. Mane is only 0.49 and Salah's 0.6, and Salah's had a few penalties thrown in there as well. So Firmino at the bigger price out of front three I think is a bet. If you're a Spurs fan, I'd have a look at Eriksen. I mean, what a player this lad has been for them. He's only missed 9 league games in the 4 seasons that he's been there. He scored 32 goals in those league games as well. He's got 2 in the Champions League this season. So if you're a Spurs fan, 14-1 on Eriksen is definitely worth a bet. The big question mark is Kane. We have 1-4 for Kane to start. I'd love to know exactly how his injury is. If it's one of those injuries where it's just match fitness, then for me, I wouldn't start him. I'd just bring him on with 20 minutes left when needed, maybe to change the game, give Spurs a lift if they're a goal behind. Where if it's one of those injuries where he could just break down at any moment, then unfortunately, you would have to start the game and see how he goes from there. Atletico Madrid did it a few years ago with Diego Costa, and I think it ended up costing him the final. He had to come off after 15-20 minutes. Other markets, if you're looking for a few bets, Fabinho to be booked. He's only played 14 minutes against Spurs this season, but he got booked in both semi-finals against Barcelona. You know, if Liverpool are winning, he won't be shy and, you know, make one of these professional fouls if needs be, with Spurs breaking across the halfway line. You get about 2 to 1, 11 to 5 for him to be booked. If you're looking for the bigger prices, a bit of narrative, Origi to start on the bench and to score the winning goal is 22 to 1. Or Moura to score in normal time, but after the 85th minute is 33 to 1. So there's plenty of bets to have there, but for me, I think there's a bit of value in Spurs to win the trophy. Poch has never won a trophy, but either did Sarri until last night, so it could be the narrative that we're looking at this week. So maybe Klopp will be a bridesmaid again in another European final, touch wood.
Great stuff, Jason. I must say, the one thing I take issue there is with Eriksen. I don't think Eriksen in the big games performs. I wouldn't start him. I think if he's gonna accommodate Kane, which looks like he will,
It's a real conundrum.
I think it's hard to drop Lucas. I would actually drop Eriksen or Ali, and I think I just think Eriksen just floats around.
If you'd have asked this question about Ali a month ago, I would have said drop Ali, but because the game he played against Ajax, when he played in more of a true position, playing behind the front forward, it was his best game he'd had.
I think Ali's got the cojones for this. I'm not sure Eriksen does. I've got to say, he's a lovely player, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not sure he's that effective in these games. I think you're going to take issue, Mark.
I just wouldn't play Lucas. I mean, he's not as good as the other four. Right. I mean, I know he scored a second-half hat-trick against Ajax, which has taken Tottenham to this position, but it's a Champions League final, and you pick your best players, and I think that Lucas is not as good as the other four. He scored a second-half hat-trick in Amsterdam, which was amazing. He has just over 10% of his shots with his left foot. He scored a hat-trick of left-footed goals. I mean, it's just one of those, bonkers things that he's probably not going to repeat ever again in his life.
His second hat-trick in a month as
well. I mean, the other one against Huddersfield and the goalkeeper, Ben Hamer, I mean, it has to come with an asterisk next to it. I just think, play your best players, and Lucas is a good option off the bench as well. If Kane's fit, he just has to play. Yeah.
Have you got any other derivative specials, novelties for us, Mark?
Yeah, in terms of the goal scorers, I mean, I like Mane, 13 in his last 16, and he's up against the worst player in Tottenham's team. Whether it's Trippier or Aurier at right back, I don't know. But
I think it will be.
I hope it's Aurier, but he didn't play Aurier against Everton, and I don't know why, because he maybe needed a game, and he played, so I think he might go for Trippier. I hope he doesn't. But whoever plays there, I think Mane's got the beating of them all day long.
Mane's properly world class now.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt anymore, is there?
He's a little bit bigger than Salah. Salah could be on penalties if Milner doesn't play, but I think Salah's got the more difficult task up against Danny Rose than what Mane has got. In terms of the bookings market, you mentioned the pressing earlier on. I think that brings the midfielders into play. And Sissoko at 16s for the first booking. I mean, he's quite clumsy anyway. And Henderson at 20s. That's where I'd be looking, really.
Do you think Hendo will start or Milner?
Yeah. Oh no, I think I've got both of them starting. And no Gini Wijnaldum.
Oh really?
Yeah. I mean, Milner tends to play in a lot of these big games. I mean, it'll be.
I thought he might leave Hendo out.
No, it'll be Henderson and Fabinho definitely. It's out of Milner and Wijnaldum, I think.
So both semi-final heroes, Wijnaldum and Moura, might actually not make it.
And Origi as well. I mean, but you pick your best players and worry about the rest after, I think.
So Sissoko for first card. Wilco, what else have you got for us?
Mine are all sort of like based around the same sort of thing, really. That Mark's talked about the wide threat from Liverpool. Particularly, I think they're really going to get at whoever plays right back, particularly Trippier, who has had a very disappointing season. So I think there could be plenty of corners in this game. Liverpool, they got an average of 6.5 corners in their games. Spurs, average of 5.11. But while Liverpool only conceded 3.3 during their league matches, obviously that takes into account teams coming to Liverpool to Anfield and not making much sort of like positive contributions. So each team to get 4 or more corners at 11 to 10, I think is quite nice, and 6 or more is 8 to 1 if you want a bit more than that. Related to the wide areas as well, headed goals. You've got the two teams in the Premier League who scored more headers than anybody else. 19 for Liverpool last year, 14 for Spurs. Both teams to score a header, 11 to 1. That's quite good. Looking at the bookings, all the whoever Pochettino plays.
Who's ref?
Scamina.
Who?
From Slovenia.
Yeah, the Slovenian arbiter. Yeah, he's been around and does quite a lot of the Champions League.
I think there's runners, the 5 players who are potentially going to play at fullback for Spurs. Foyt, Aurier, Rose, Davis and Trippier. I mean, the prices are going to depend on who starts. Obviously, I think there'll be marked men to go for the cards. And linked to that as well, while we've talked about fullbacks, the excellent Andy Robertson, an anytime assist at 4-1.
Okay, excellent stuff. Well done, lads. That's great. Right then, they played for both clubs. You've been beavering away on this, Mark, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So Ray Clements.
It's got to be Clements.
Clements in goal, back three. It's not the strongest back three, but there we go. Stephen Corker, John Scales, and Neil Ruddock. In the wing-back areas.
Nice pace.
No, in the wing-back areas, Leonardson, Oyvind Leonardson.
Oyvind, yeah.
On the right, Christian Ziege on the left. You have.
But you could also have Konchesky as well, can't you? As per the graphic?
Yeah. I mean, I think Ziege definitely, definitely trumps him. You got Souness holding the midfield.
Yeah, that's a glaring omission on our graphic there.
Yeah,
we've got Barnby.
One UEFA Cup performance for Spurs.
One game for Spurs. I went for Jamie Redknapp as the passer in midfield.
Top player.
Yeah, top.
He is.
You could have Barnby as somebody that joins in the attack. I think Paul Stewart, an underrated player.
He's always the answer in those who played in the North London derby, Merseyside derby, and Manchester derby.
And then Crouch and Keano up front with your substitutes. I think you mentioned
Friedel in goal.
Yeah, Friedel's your sub goalkeeper.
Danny Murphy, we've got mentioned Danny Murphy.
Danny Murphy, Nick Barnby, Paul Walsh, Paul Konchesky. I did have Kevin Stewart, but actually he never played for Tottenham. He was only on the bench. But yeah, I mean, there's
manager.
Enough. Well, I mean, Wilco got Birkinshaw played for Liverpool.
Played one game for Liverpool
and managed Spurs. I had Doug Livermore as his assistant, who was joint manager at Tottenham with Peter Shreves and played for Liverpool. And then putting it all together as the sporting director, Damien Comolli.
Fantastic.
How could we forget Comolli?
Yeah.
Great effort. Yeah. Did you have any more, Jason, or we pretty much summed it up there, didn't we?
Very thorough. Did Robbie Keane get a mention?
Yeah, Robbie Keane, don't worry about that.
Definitely. Good team.
Souness would have the armband, wouldn't he? Okay, what is our nap of the Champions League? One bet.
This will not be beaten.
A fantastic game, Jason. A zillion markets on paddypower.com. If you could only bet on one, what would it be?
For me, again, for the reasons outlined earlier, I'd be going with Robbie Firmino, and I'd go with him in the anytime goal scorer market there. You get about 94 on him, so you would. Okay, Mark?
I'm going to go for Liverpool to win the game. I think it's safe enough, really.
Just Liverpool to win in 90.
To win in 90 minutes.
And Wilco.
If you want
I'll have each team to have 4 or more corners at 11-10.
I like that. Okay, the action remains in the Iberian Peninsula. We've got the UEFA Nations League semis. We'll do those next.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log in to your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Football Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Mark Langdon, Ian Wilkerson and Jason Murphy from Paddy Power. Okay, so after the excitement of the Champions League on Saturday night, the action heads west to Portugal because the season doesn't end. It never ends. It's the first ever UEFA Nations League outright final. Well, we've got the semis first, and those are what we're going to look at, because on Wednesday at 7:45, it's Portugal versus Switzerland, followed a day later by the Netherlands versus England. Jason, before we look at each individual game, what's the latest from Paddy Power on to win this thing?
Yeah, we've England in as favourites at the moment at 13-8. We've Portugal 15-8. Then we'd have Netherlands best price at 3-1, and then we'd have Switzerland 6-1. Okay, well we'll do the first semi next Wednesday. Portugal Switzerland. What's the 90 minutes? Yeah, so we've Portugal 8-13, the draw 13-5, and Switzerland 4-1. And Wilco, what will happen?
Well, I mean, we're all getting very excited about the Nations League, but I think perhaps people are getting a little bit too enthusiastic about it, because it really is like there's not a massive prize at the end of it. It is literally playing for a cup rather than qualification or things like that. So I think Portugal are playing at home, but I think they could. Switzerland could give them a decent game. They were both in the same qualifying group for the World Cup, and they won 9 out of 10 games. Both teams. Portugal, not in great recent form. In the last 4 matches, they've drawn them all. And the last 3 have been at home to Portugal, Ukraine and Serbia. They got they got if you remember, these were 3-team groups, and you had to win their way through, and they did the hard work by beating Italy and then winning 3-2 in Poland. They've been a little bit sticky recently.
What you got for us, Wilco? Well, bet you're rambling.
I've been impressed with Switzerland. They've had some decent results. They beat Belgium 5-2, and I think they've got a decent chance of getting something out of this game. So you go with the double chance. Switzerland will draw double chance at 11-10, or the draw no better 3-1.
Perfect. Jason, what's your view of this one?
Yeah, I'd agree a lot with what Wilco said there, talking about Portugal, and those couple of draws have been great performances, but serious squad on paper. The likes of Bernardo Silva, Diego Jota, Cristiano Ronaldo, João Cancelo, a full-back, Juventus full-back. Again, United are interested in him. It'd be great if they got him. There's João Felix as well from Benfica. He's not capped yet, and I'm kind of disappointed because I backed Portugal in the Under-20 World Cup, but he's in the squad with the seniors for this game. So it'd be great. It'd be a great match just to watch next Wednesday and see the bit of quality on show. But for me, I'd be same as Wilco, and what I'd do is I'd go for Switzerland in the outright rather than, if they get a result in the match, then they'll go into the final and be a lot shorter than your 6-1. They had a very good World Cup. I thought they came out of a tough group with Brazil and Serbia, and I thought they were the better team against Sweden, and they would have met England in the quarterfinals, and I think they would have given them a better game than Sweden. They've had some good results. That 5-2 win against Belgium as well shows a bit of character too. And they've a big player in Remo Freuler, the Atalanta playmaker. He's only recently got in the squad. He's kind of been sitting on the bench with Switzerland the last 2 years, but he's full of pace. He scored on his last time out against Denmark. He likes a shot from outside the box. He's 20-1 there for first goal scorer. So if you think Switzerland are going to get a result, I'd have a look at him in the goal scorer markets. Even have a look at the score from outside the box when it's priced up.
What's his name?
Remo Freuler. No, my pronunciation mightn't be the best on that, but he's had a great season with Atalanta, and obviously them getting Champions League football, he was a massive part of that.
Excellent. Mark?
Yeah, I disagree. I think Portugal home advantage, and where I do agree is that I think the bet here is to just back in the outright, because it may take 120 minutes or penalties, but I think Portugal, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo didn't play in the Nations League qualifying campaign. Quite an important player for them. Bernardo Silva's coming off an amazing year with Manchester City. I just wonder as well, Switzerland, obviously Shaqiri's in Madrid at the moment with Liverpool. Xhaka was in Azerbaijan last night, chasing the Chelsea players around the pitch. Don't know when they're going to sort of fully come together, and it's going to be quite late, and they are hugely influential players, those two, for Switzerland. Switzerland have upset the odds quite a number of times in recent years. They're a decent yardstick. I just think that being at home in this Nations League, where you're still not entirely sure how everybody's treating the competition, I think if you're at home, there's probably the onus is on you a little bit more.
Okay, and then the following day, next Thursday, it's 7:45, Netherlands versus England, 90-minute betting. Jason?
Yeah, so England will be favourites at 23-10, the draw 11-5, and Holland 2-1.
And what's the bet here, Jason?
For me, I think England are a bit short, and I'd be getting with Netherlands. Obviously, Wijnaldum and Van Dijk will be involved in the Champions League, but England will have a few players as well. Babel has looked good for Fulham this season. Depay has done well in France, and obviously the Ajax boys had a very good run in the Champions League. They've also recently beaten the world champions France 2-0 and pulled a great result out of the bag away to Germany. They were 2-0 down with 5 minutes left and got a result as well to help them qualify for this. Whereas England, you can only beat what's in front of you, and it is impressive to score 10 goals in 2 games against the Czech and Montenegro. But I still think their run at the World Cup was lucky. I mean, if Kane doesn't score against Tunisia, it's a completely different summer for everyone. And I thought, Croatia were awful in the group stage, really. That 0-0 game, England away, was terrible to watch in UEFA Nations League. They got a great result away to Spain, but again, looking at that game, I think if it was to be played again, I think Spain win it 9 times out of 10. So I just can't have England as favourites for this. But same again, I'd have a look at the outright Holland at 3-1 then if you think they're going to get a result in this game.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think I'd be looking to take England on. It just feels a bit short when you think of the players, like Kane. Henderson has been a key man in the midfield for them. I mean, that Champions League final, I think, is a difficult one to call until we know how that goes, really, for this game, because it is important. But I just think with Holland, obviously you've got Van Dijk there, but actually they've got quite good depth in the centre-back positions with De Ligt, and De Vrij plays in Serie A as well. I don't think Wijnaldum is if you've got Van der Beek and Frenkie de Jong, I don't think, Wijnaldum is going to be that much of a loss if he can't start him. So I'd be looking to oppose England. I like both teams, actually, but I don't think there's as much between them, maybe, as what the prices suggest.
So what's the bet then?
I suppose probably Netherlands draw no bet would be the way I would go. I think it is going to be quite a tight game.
Wilco, what do you think? I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because as Mark says, you probably want to see how Saturday night pans out first,
it's very difficult motivation. As much as Sky will bump this up, it's a glorified tournoi. There's not a lot riding on it, and consequently, I think that England will be overbet because people will buy into this. Oh God, it's our first trophy we're going to win since 1966 or whatever. And
the only thing is, England always try, don't they? Whatever it is, they're always off, aren't they?
But then, having said that, I think because Holland haven't qualified for the last 2 tournaments, they've got plenty to prove as well, and they'll want to make a mark. I just think that England will be overbet. Their price will go off too short, and then the value will be back in the Orange.
That's what you're going to do, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, excellent. I'm looking forward to that, I must say. It's an incredible few days. Now, Mark, you're gathering your papers together. Are you about to start your epic journey to Madrid? What does it entail?
It entails plenty of beer. It's going to entail straight out of here to Blackfriars.
When?
About...
Tonight?
Yeah, about 3:30.
3:30 this afternoon?
3:30 this afternoon to Gatwick.
You and your dad?
Yeah, and then there's various other people dotted all over Spain and Europe over the next day and a half. And then from Malaga, going to have a day in sort of Benalmádena or Torremolinos tomorrow. Probably find the racing pub, watch the Oaks and everything. Go on the Lash tomorrow. Then Saturday morning, I've managed to cancel a train via Cordoba and get a direct train to Madrid. So about 9 o'clock Saturday morning, Malaga into Madrid. All day.
And then you go to a couple of museums, I think. To an art gallery.
Straight to the Tottenham fan zone where everyone who's meeting will sort of congregate. Sort of like we've got some going from Benidorm and Seville and places like that. So Tottenham fan zone. I've got a nightclub area booked to watch the game.
You haven't got a ticket, no?
Oh no.
Did you just decide it wasn't even worth trying to put yourself through it?
I possibly could have got one, if I would have really put my mind to it. But there's other people going. I couldn't have got 4, 5, 6 or whatever. So no, that's fine. I'm no real. I don't mind watching it in a pub. Although we may end up in one of the people who's going, his surname's Lillywhite, unbelievably. He said that there's a talk of a different nightclub now. So I mean, I'll end up in a nightclub somewhere.
Are you excited?
I'm really excited. The only thing I'm not excited about is a coach journey back to Malaga at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. I don't like coaches. I've got travel bands to wear on the wrist. I've got travel sickness tablets. It says not to take with alcohol, but I'm going to take the risk that it'll be okay. And hopefully I'll sleep for the 6-hour journey back. If not, the worst case scenario is I wake up with all sick down me in Marbella, because that's where the bus eventually parks up. No, exactly. So, and then Monday morning, back home. Hopefully.
Good bollocking.
Hopefully as European champions.
Oh, brilliant. Well, listen, I hope it goes well, mate. You have a fantastic trip. Wilco, you're a lifelong Spurs fan as well, but what are you going to be doing? Watching it with the old man?
Watching it with the old man, yeah.
Excellent.
Well, he was the one who was responsible for taking me to my first game in 1979, so...
How nice for you both watching it.
Yeah, great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Albeit, I think probably on the beer spread, I'd just about be backing Lango.
Yeah, I'll be having 1 or 2, but not many.
Jason, you're slightly less excited about this weekend, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I just got back from the French Open late last night, so I'm in for an 8-day stretch. But all the Liverpool fans obviously have a Saturday night booked off, so the office won't be. It'll be bearable anyways if Liverpool do the business. But
is there a lot of Irish people going over to Madrid ticketless? I mean, Liverpool had about 50,000 in Kiev, didn't they?
Absolutely. Like there'd be lads would have been, jumping on the airplane tickets during that second leg once Liverpool went to 2-0. There's people looking at snapping up. So yeah, there's a good few travelling over. I don't know with regards to how successful they would be with tickets or without, but there'll be a big crowd making their way.
My son works in Melbourne, and one of his mates has jumped on a plane this morning on his own to go to Madrid. He hasn't even got a ticket. Right. 4 nights. I mean, that's just absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely superb. Tell me about the the French Open. You went for 7 days to watch tennis, Jason.
Oh no, sorry. We went for 2 days, but just got back late last night.
Oh, I see.
So I'm in now for the next day. But Jesus, great. Really enjoyed it. Got to see a couple of Grand Slam winners. Stan Wawrinka. Got to see Nadal, Del Potro. Ostapenko playing doubles. Really
Wow.
enjoyed it. I went with a few tennis experts as well, if you're looking for bets in the outrights.
Yes, I am. What you got?
They said TM, he's actually playing at the moment. He's 2-1 up, lost the second set on the tie break, but he's 2-1 up at the moment. He was 9-1 pre-match on that. So if he gets through, have a look and see what price he is. And I reckon Serena's legs are gone, but she still has the power on the slower surface that is clay. I reckon 20-1 Serena, if you could get it, was maybe still a bit of value.
20-1, blimey.
Yeah.
Struggling, isn't she?
Okay, excellent. Wow, I didn't expect that to happen. Now listen, Jason, this is your final postcast for us this season. I want to say thank you so much for your input. You've been absolutely superb. You've helped me out with some very, very good first scorer tips as well. So we need you back next season on the postcast, my friend. Have a great summer. And Mark and Wilco, enjoy yourselves on Saturday. No one's asked me where I'm watching the game yet.
Are you
watching
still
the
at
game,
Muse? Are you still going to Muse?
Last autumn, I booked tickets to go and see Muse, okay? And I thought to myself, blimey, I better check when this is. And I looked, June the 1st. So I shall be with my daughter at the London Stadium watching Muse. I've written off the final. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just one of those things. I'm going to very much enjoy the concert. And I obviously hope it's an absolutely shit 0-0 and you all hate
Well,
it.
if it's at the London,
Well, that'll be the draw then. I'll be happy then.
and if Bruce, if it's the London Stadium, I mean, given the amount of West Ham fans that are cheering on Liverpool, and there'll probably be some kind of parade going on Saturday night.
Oh yeah, quite. Although I think the Venn diagram between West Ham fans and Muse fans,
Yeah.
that
Well,
bit
they'll
the
all
middle
be
is
in
pretty
Stratford
small.
watching it in the pubs anyway.
We've got one more football postcast this season. It's next Thursday and we are looking ahead to the Women's World Cup final. So do please join us for that. I'm back tomorrow to take you through Derby Day.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.